Hey, checking in with Michael Crummey's Galore, which is still, I guess, a historical novel about a Newfoundland kind of fishing village in the 18th, 19th century. Even though it seems very contemporary, but that might just speak more of how these towns and the people in them just sort of sound semi kind of like contemporary Newfoundland to me, even though I'm not obviously getting the visuals. Uh, Maybe not contemporary, but like I could still see this in the early 20th century as being kind of like still going on. Um, though I think we might be getting up to the turn of the century or something like that. I don't know. I don't know. Or well, not yeah, maybe 1870s or 1880s. So yeah, this is the rest of chapter 5 and into chapter 6. And I think I'm hitting that thing of maybe I'm not much for and this isn't even just a family saga, this is multi-family saga, where there are so many fucking people in this goddamn novel. And we've shifted generations, so it's not like just one generation of folk, but this is like multi generations of different folk, all in this kind of this communities around um, Paradise Deep and the Gulch and all these bits in here that I'm it's just like I think it defeats me. I honestly think it just defeats me. And I mean, I'm listening to the audiobook. Maybe this is one of these books where there'd be charts at the beginning or at the back of the book where you could be kind of tracing out the family history. I wouldn't be surprised. I should actually download like the sample thing of this novel and see if it actually does have that kind of chart at the beginning. Even though in some ways I find if you need a fucking chart to wade your way through a novel, um, maybe the novel's doing something wrong. Which maybe that makes me sound like a lazy bastard, but maybe I'm being a lazy bastard. I'm enjoying it, but it's one of these things where, like, yeah, if you have a hard time of just of keeping track of the folk in a novel, it's hard to care about the folk in the novel. I mean, you get the kind of the it's more like maybe the novelist Crummy is just trying to we're going for the big picture here. I'm not wanting you to focus on any one character and maybe I want you to have some sympathy for them, but we're going to be moving along to the next character pretty soon, and these ones are going to be dying horribly or childbirth or losing a leg or getting off into the waters or freaking murdering each other or cutting off ears. God, the mummers in this book around Christmas time. It's basically kind of like this. It's a pressure release valve on the community where the mummers get to kind of cloak themselves in immunity and completely rag the hell on people. And in one case with King Me's um, son Levi, who's even more of a hard bastard than King Me was. He's like, he's basically classifying people's fish as crap fish, so that their families are gonna starve to death and stuff like that. And some of the mummers grab him and like he's like ignoring them. It's like, oh, you're obviously having trouble hearing, and so they grab him, they pin him down, and they cut both his they cut the lobes of his ears off. And so he deputizes some drunken guys, and they arrest a bunch of people, and they want to get Judah because he believes he can smell Judah's stink, though it might have actually been his son who has inherited his father's natural stink when he's pissed off, like just like these little weird magic realism things. Um, and Judah gets locked up in a thing, gets locked up for it. He's like basically, Levi really just has it out for. He's the scapegoat again. This, Judah is this kind of, I guess, the unifying symbol character of this novel, and so he's got it completely out for him, and so he's imprisoned him, and Judah starts writing someone who I mean, and he does that before, where it's like he signs his name with very kind of ornate script, and then when he's locked away, held for months and stuff like that, because Levi's trying to get him convicted, but there's no evidence, and indeed it might not even be him. Turns out it isn't him. He starts writing biblical scriptures on all the walls, and kind of stuff of kind of Old Testament madness. The American doctor who comes in goes like, well, we'll either put you up for insanity plea, or the writer of the Psalms should be in for insanity, because it's like bashing children against walls, and just kind of general madness, which you actually do see played out very biblically in this novel, of all these people with all their grudges, and just how closely packed together they are, and how all these the families, just the grudges going down through the centuries, and the doctor who's got the hots for Bride of Christ, Bride, who has a husband, and he knows he can't propose to her, but finally he decides to, and good fortune, her husband gets caught up in twine and gets dragged under and dies. I think that's how he dies, or is that Henley? That might be Henley. See, I have a hard time of keeping all these characters together. But yeah, we've really shifted generations, and I guess I hold on to the Doctor because at least he's a new character. He's not connected to anyone, whereas a lot of the other characters in the thing, it's like, well, who are you the kid of, or what the thing? And it's just like, I'm listening to it. It's good it's an audiobook, because I think if I was reading it, I would have, well, maybe if I was reading it, I would have traced it back and tried to figure things out. But if I hadn't been able to figure things out, I just would have given up. So in some ways, just continuing to go along headlong, I'm just kind of going with themes of the grudges of this whole thing of, like, useless men and women who suffer them, and women who the men believe that the women kind of govern their lives, and they're the kind of the hard back kind of. They're the stern ones who kind of force things along, even though the men are equally as mulish. God, yeah. I was just thinking, it's like, I mean, it's again, Crummie's written a book where it's like, well, I'm glad I didn't grow up in this. I'm glad this isn't my history. I think what the main thing I get from this is, it's like, I feel very much like an outsider reading this novel. Like, there's a lot of novels where you go like, oh, I'm immersed into this culture. I feel like I'm a part of it. I kind of get a little understanding of it. But there's actually, in a way, that reading this novel, that it's probably just the failure of my own imagination and stuff like that. But I feel like the American Doctor is like, yeah, I'm never going to be a part of this. And I mean, he probably, because he's seeing these people, he actually can keep everything straight, even though he struggles at the beginning. But me, at that further remove, I just feel removed. I just feel removed from this thing. And maybe this is a Newfoundland novel for Newfoundlanders, who also have a kind of a chart, how they can kind of keep track of all this stuff. And maybe if I did, multiple reads. But I think I also just prefer novels where I can immerse myself in a single point of view, or like a single life, or just a couple of manageable lives. It's interesting because I read Small Game Hunting at the Local Coward Gun Club by Megan Gale Cole, which is another book that's set in Newfoundland, but this one in a contemporary Newfoundland, and it has like 8 main characters, which actually is a much smaller cast than this novel, which is at least 16, 20, 25. It seems gigantic. of a cast. But I can name all the characters in Small Game Hunting at the local Coward Gun Club. They're all like very indelible in me, and I had no confusion going through that novel. Whereas this one, it's just it's a jumble to me. It's a jumble. It's a jumble in that there's so many of them. We jump back and forth in time every once in a while. Um, there's just all the kind of the different varied relationships, and I'm not keeping it in my head. And I have to think that, at least for me, that that's a failure. That I'm not getting this. And maybe it's a failure because I decided to listen to this on the audiobook versus read it. I'm glad I've got The Innocents, which is a book with two characters, very much just two characters, brother and sister, and that's like really, um, that really worked for me. So I know Crummy can do that, but he just wasn't interested in doing that in this novel, and I don't know if I'm on that wavelength. And then there's the whole magic realism thing. But yeah, I'm going to continue. I'm going to continue listening to it. I'm 10 hours into like a 13-hour book, so I will finish it, and we'll see where I am at the end. But that's where I am at the moment. All right, more videos later.